All right, so I'm going to give you guys a demonstration today on how to, well, first to pick your video reference for our parkour exercise. So I guess I don't have to share your screen because it's just me right now. Oh, you know what? I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and share screen. That way you can see my Maya. All right, so first to start off, here's my Maya scene. And this is the same file that everyone's going to use. They're going to start off with the same start and end pose. So you can see here's my camera, here's my perspective. And I'll show you these views in the front view. And then from the side view or the right view. And then if you want to, you can adjust the camera if it better suits your video reference. But you can see we're going to start at frame 101. I also already keyed our default position here at 100. So we have a safety frame. I have a box. You don't necessarily need that. You can reshape that or delete it, or but that's going to be the obstacle. That could be an obstacle that they're going to jump over. So yeah, here's our start and our end frame. Here's 101. That's where we start. I'm going to change this back to 101 so we don't ever see our safety frame. We don't show that to our audience. And then I hit the greater than sign, and you can see I'm hitting greater than, less than, or just greater than, less than, and it's just, there's no difference. I keyed it at 101, and then I moved my time slider down to 175, and I keyed it again. I also set the animation preferences to spline, to clamped and stepped, which means whenever I change if I decide to go in here, oops, I gotta turn my curves back on. If I decided to drop him somewhere in the middle, I don't know, that's probably, just as an example, you can see that when at 135, this is my middle frame, it keys it as a stepped frame instead of spline. The default is, I defaulted it to stepped. Also, one important thing to notice is that I created, I switched the FK switch. I switched that to FK. If there's a run, if it's a run cycle, and it depends on really what you're going to do. If you're going to jump over a table and maybe plant your hand on the table, then that's a really good place to use IK. So you really want to study your video reference and make sure you know when to use IK and when to use FK. I would just recommend, if you're going to plant your hand at some point, to just stay in IK. If you're going to just running and you're just going to jump through a hoop or something, you can leave it in FK like I have it. But the other thing I just remembered is I select my my all button, and if I hover over the mouse or button, I don't believe that I keyed the FK controls. So what I need to do is, in fact, I'm going to do this for you guys, but just in case you need to reset your all button, I'm going to remind you how to do that real quickly. So I'm going to open up my script editor, and I'm going to clear my history. I'm going to turn off my character for a second, my polygons. So I'm just saying, I'm going to select my all button, and everything is already selected except for the FK switches, or I'm sorry, not the switches, but the FK controls, and that's the shoulder, left shoulder, left elbow, and left wrist. And then over here on the right, right shoulder, right elbow, right wrist. So now that's my complete all button. I'm going to reselect everything, middle mouse, drag it over, and say Mel. Then I'm going to delete my old one, just so I don't confuse them. And I'm going to rename this one. I go to edit and then shelves and then Ultimate Bony ALL. Save it. So if I select just my shoulder control, actually it looks like it did key it, surprisingly. No, it didn't. Let's see. Yeah, my shoulder is, well, it's yeah, it's not keyed in the channel box and it's not keyed in the time slider down here. Neither is my elbow, or I think my wrist is. No, none of those are. So I select my all button and I hit S, and you can see that there's 1, 2, well, at least it doesn't show all of them very clearly, but it added more keys. You can see 175 was keyed before I made my all button, and 101 is the new correct key. So I'm going to go back to 175 and just delete that. Now with 101 correct, where I've keyed everything, I'm going to hit S again. And now if I just select just the elbow or just the wrist or just the shoulder, now I have everything's keyed. And again, this is only if you determine, if you're just running and your arms are just following, they're just moving, they don't need to plant onto an object or onto a wall, then you want, you can animate them in FK. I'm sorry, if they plant on a wall or something, you need to switch them to IK or just leave them as IK. So again, the switch for FK and IK is right here, these controls at the wrist joints. 1 means FK and 0 means IK. So 0 will give you that big mitten that we had. And again, that's only if you want to plant your hand on something. The ground or a wall or some object that you're gonna hurl your body over and just stick your hand on there. All right, so that's the rig. Turn the polygons back on. Now, what I wanted to show you was the video references that I found. And there's a lot of really good ones. There's 2 movies that really kind of inspired well, one movie that really inspired this whole idea. And it's called, what is it called? It's an Ong Bak movie. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll send you guys the links. I just I just watched through so many of these and I forgot what the name of the movie is. Anyways, so this, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but so in this scene, you know, he's being chased by a bunch of thugs, and this is like 1 minute and 9 seconds in. So he jumps over these kids, and then he gets chased. But what's really cool is with, oops, I went back too far. With a less than and greater than sign, like in Maya, if you just hit the less than sign or the greater than sign, just frame by frame, it'll frame by frame through for you. So the whole idea is it should be really easy for you guys to find your key poses. So more or less this position is kind of where I'm starting my run. So that would be, and the run is basically just before a contact position where he's in the air. He's just about you can see, going back to Maya, he's in the air. Let me go to the side view so you can see that better. His foot is just about to, his heel is just about to strike the ground. So I would find again, the first thing you want to do is find your key poses. So he contacts the ground. maybe that would be a key pose where he contacts. And then where this knee, just before he leaves the ground, that his left knee is up in the air. This is probably another nice key pose. And then where he gets pretty, let's see, I would say somewhere like right there where his feet are, yeah, maybe I'll get right there. Both feet are way up in the air. You can see how much he's throwing his arms forward. And you can really do this either in IK or FK, but I'm just giving you guys the option to use FK if you're not going to plant your hands on something. So I would say this would be the next key pose. And then it's not going to show where the foot lands, hits the ground. But at some point he has to, unfortunately this isn't going to show it, but a lot of these other clips that I'm going to show you, because his acrobatics are so cool, they take it from very different or from various angles to show you, and they'll do it in slow motion. But this one kind of cuts it off. But anyways, the next key pose would be where this foot, the left foot, contacts the ground. And then from there, you would just get enough poses to get back to the run. So back to, he started at 1, way back here where he's, so that's frame 101. And then he jumps over the kids, and then he lands, and you want to get him back. Like I said, just give yourself enough poses to get him back to what we have at 175, which is the exact same pose as 101. So a couple of things that I want you to consider when you're doing when you're picking your references. You can use any one of these from the movies that I'm about to show. You can use one of your own that you found. But I would strongly encourage you to find some kind of an obstacle. Like most of the obstacles he's running into are either people he's jumping over or cars, or there's some kind of an obstacle. And of course, I don't want you guys to build a whole bunch of people, but you can put little objects, little boxes, or little spheres with little boxes to represent people, to show he's jumping over people. And let's see, so that's the first example. Here's a second example, and this is just right after that. So maybe you have 2 tables, and oops, let me go to this. So he's just running. He jumps over one table. He just hurdles over it really nicely. If you know anything about hurdling, that's a really nice technique for hurdling. And I don't remember if yeah, he had to kind of, those tables were too close for hurdling, so he had to kind of make up the distance or just cut himself short. But he still hurdled over both tables, and then he's right back into his run. So that's the whole idea, is you guys have 3 seconds. In fact, I wanted to time that. So more or less what I want you to do, if we just go back to the Maya real quick, and this isn't perfectly scientific, you can pull out your cell phone and just count. But what I'm going to do is, the way I came up with 101 to 175, if I hit play, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1001, 1002, 1003. So you have about 3 seconds to get out of this pose, do whatever acrobatic thing you're going to do, and then get back into it. So you have 3 seconds to animate. And some of these, like I said, some of these are already slow motion, so it's kind of hard to figure out the timing. Let me see. Oh, sorry, I skipped over it. 1001, 1002. Yeah, so that little jump didn't last a full, and it was slow motion too. It probably lasted a second and a half. So you can still do that, but just give yourself, maybe take a couple more steps before the jump and after the jump, so you can fill out the full 3 seconds. 101 to 175. So then these guys chase him. then I get to here. So let's see how long the table is. The table jumps last. And I love watching it in slow motion too. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the same one. 1001, 1002. So that was only, I mean, he did it so quickly because the tables are so close together. So maybe you stick another table, and he just somehow he figures out how to jump over the third table. So that one only lasts 2 seconds. So maybe, or you could just have him jump over two tables, or maybe just over one table, but you have to add enough frames of running before and after the jump to equal 3 seconds. And then let's see, here's the next one. This is so some big cylinders coming through, and these are just super simple. I don't want you guys spending a lot of time modeling, just finding simple geometry to become obstacles. This guy's walking through 1001, 1002. So yeah, he jumped through two obstacles in less than 2 seconds, really. In fact, let's just, I'm just gonna go backwards. So the other thing that's really important to think about is these guys, he's preparing himself. He doesn't just jump. This is really well choreographed. So he sees that that's a tight opening. You can see how narrow he makes himself. And then this guy riding his bike, he's still got he has a narrow space between this guy and whatever he's carrying on his bicycle behind him. You can even see how he tightens his face because he doesn't want to run into anything. He makes himself a little ball here. So that would definitely be a key position right there. And then he lands, and he kind of, lands all over the place, but he gets right back into his run. And let's see. Oh, this one's kind of cool too. You can put up a whole bunch of dangerous, what are these, plows or whatever these blades are with. So I'll just play this one. 1001, 1002. So again, this was slow motion, and they slow a lot of this down just so the audience can appreciate this guy's acrobatics. But here's the big key pose. He does the splits to jump over these dangerous objects. And again, maybe that's just, it's probably not going to take you a full second to jump over that, or maybe a full second, but you still have 2 seconds in front and before and after this jump. So you just add enough of a run before and after to finish that obstacle. And let's see. Oh yeah, this one's really cool. So he's running, and they played it again. So they even set this one up. For the most part, they're setting it up for the audience. Okay, the audience knows that he's going to be running, and these guys are carrying this heavy barbed wire on a stick, and for some reason they get, they slow down, and he jumps through there. And his friend does too, but he, comic relief, this guy keeps getting hurt or stopped, where his buddy is super acrobatic, and he's good enough to miss all the dangers. And this guy, I mean, he's really doing all this stuff. He's not, this isn't a stunt man, this isn't CG. I mean, he just folds his body so he can get through this narrow, and I'm surprised he didn't get snagged by any of the barbs. But you can see his hands, he narrows his hands, and then he splays them out to come out. So, but he seems to always land on his left foot first, and then he just keeps running. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one is, so this guy's cooking, and he's reaching down to grab something that I don't know, he's dropped or whatever. And he uses him as a springboard, and he just keeps running. He actually stopped for a second as he landed on the table, kind of like a gymnast would after a vault. In fact, he's running, and then he kind of does his little spring off the ground, both feet together, bounces off of this guy. Looks like he even uses his head to help spring him up. There's a nice arc. That's what we're looking for, nice arcs. He lands on the table. So he kind of stopped there for a second, but then he just immediately gets back to running. And let's see. So to set this up, of course, you wouldn't make a guy. Maybe that's a ball or a cylinder or something that he's going to use. Maybe he does run across a table, but just keep you don't have to add a whole bunch of different objects, just a table and a cylinder, or maybe it's something that comes through like the guys on the bikes. You don't have to make bikes and guys on them, but just thinking of some obstacle that rolls past him that he's got to avoid. And then let's see. Oh, this one's really cool too. So these guys are setting up. I don't know. They're about to install some glass, I guess, for doors or something. So they show you him running. He's got to make it through these two dangerous pieces of glass, these panes. And he just does this no hands cartwheel. And the setup is really nice. He kind of skips. And then he does a cartwheel without touching anything. And they show you, they'll do it again because it's so impressive. So these guys are, I guess they're getting ready to cut these glass pieces off the frame. And then these guys got to slow down because they don't want to get hurt. Yeah, this one is amazing. I mean, they're all amazing, but so here's a whole bunch of tires, and you can make tires out of toruses, just super simple, just a stack of tires, and then he springboards, and he does 2 flips over these guys, and they show it to you again because it's so cool, and he just keeps running. Yeah, we could just keep playing because the next obstacle is this fence, and this is cool because he uses the wall to run up and grab onto the fence, and then he's over. He does a quick turn. Now this is the only place where he really stops because he's confronted here. But you could have him keep running. You could have him run up the side of a wall, and then have some fence in the way, and just get him up high enough so he grabs onto it and flings himself over. So one of the important things that I need to mention is these obstacles, they need to be moving. He's going to be moving all of his body parts except for all of his body parts are going to move, but he's going to be stationary. So you can see, going back to Maya real quick, 101, he's in this position. 175, he's back to this position. So the root control here, that's going to go up and down as he's doing his acrobatics. Maybe he's going to be doing rotations, he's going to flip around or something, but you are not going to have, okay, just translate Z is out of the question. You can't pull him and translate Z. You can pull him up and over an obstacle and translate Y. I guess you could go translate X a little bit if you need to, but you cannot pull him forward and translate Z, because then you have to pull him backwards. So any animation is going to happen with his legs going backwards and forwards, his hips rotating left and right, his arms, switching. In fact, yeah, you have to do each one of these. So all these guys are going to flip the other direction. So yeah, you're just switching, of course, but all his body parts are moving except for translate Z on his root. That does not, I'm even tempted to just lock it. Maybe I should, that way. Yeah, let's lock it. That way we're not tempted to move him. Lock selected. Okay. So that should remind you, you can see he can move and translate Y. He can move and translate X a little bit, but he's got to get back to center. but the important thing is he cannot move and translate Z. He can't move forward. So if I have this, if he's running and I have this box, I need to animate the box. Maybe at 101 it's off screen, and then at let me just key it there, and then at 127 or 175 it moves past him. So if we just play that, oh, what happened to my box? Why didn't it key? It moved. 101. Let's see. Yeah, it's animated. Oh, I know why. It's not animating because it's in stepped. So I'm just going to take the translate Z of that box, and the obstacles will move because he's not moving. The obstacles have to move. So I don't want flat or flat tangent. I want a linear tangent. So if I hit play, he's that box is moving. He's got to get out of the way. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's not that tall. Maybe it's a smaller obstacle. Maybe I just scale it down. But so that's the pace that he's running at. So whatever obstacle you're going to have, you have to have it either move left to right. Maybe it's an obstacle that comes from this side and goes this way, and he's just avoiding it, like the bikes. Or if it's like something he's jumping over, you're going to animate this to from 101 to 175 to get it to have him get over, around, or under it, or whatever. Okay, so that's let's go back to our. So this could be a little bit hard, but again, the wall and the fence need to be moving in the translate Z to keep him in place, where he's going up and maybe side to side, but he's not going forward. All right, and then let's see. Yeah, so he's still at the fence. So this is where he stopped, but I hit play. This is really cool. He actually runs on these guys. He uses their shoulders like stilts and just runs on top of them. So I'll just play. I'm gonna just play through that slowly. Oh, that's too far back. Sorry. So he does his parkour over the fence, and just ignore this part where he stopped. Our character is constantly running. So if you wanted to do something like this, most likely you're going to have to pull your camera up higher, and you can have some obstacles that resemble people, just boxes with heads on them or something. And here's key pose. He's every time his foot lands on another guy's shoulder, that's a key pose. Key pose, and then where one more key pose, and then he's just falling down. He lands on so you do it again here. Key, and this guy. So they stage these guys. They choreographed this pretty well so that they would be about the right spacing for the depth of his or the gait of his run. And of course he had to accommodate them too, but they didn't want him to miss. And then he lands. Yeah, I really like this. He really throws himself out there. His arms are flailing, his legs are flailing. They try to grab at him, but yeah, don't worry about characters trying to grab at him. And then he just keeps going. And I think this is the last one I was going to show. Yeah, this is he's jumping over vehicles. So these guys, they keep chasing him. 1001, 1002, 1003. So you could probably jump over 2 cars in 3 seconds. Or you can have him slide under a car. So he stopped. This is another, I guess this isn't the only place. There wasn't the only place he stopped. He stopped, but then once he got himself up, he kept running. And that would be pretty cool. He did the splits to go underneath this this SUV or whatever that was, that truck. Let's watch that again. So you can see, watch his preparation. He's turning his body so he can slide under there without getting hit by that truck. And he's actually going backwards. His face is going the other direction. And he gets out of the splits and just keeps moving. All right, so that's Ong Bak. The other movie was, what's it called? District B13. So this guy's been, again, these are drug dealers and thugs, and this is a French movie. The other one was a Thai movie. And this guy's been destroying the drug dealers' cocaine. So so this, similar to Ong Bak, this guy, one of the first things he does is run on top of people, uses the pipes to get around people. Let's see. So again, if you're going to do something like that, oops, sorry, that's forward. I need to go backwards. So you could have some pipes along the walls or across the ceiling that go past him. And maybe you have someone that looks like another guy that he's kind of stuck. So he just jumps over this guy. He just kind of twists around and lets himself down. And then he keeps running. And I wouldn't think about having him run around a corner. Just keep him running in a straight path for everybody. That way, it'll be easy. We don't want to have him turn a right corner and then all of a sudden he's running right instead of forward. This is similar to what we just watched, except he goes through this door at the top, this little window at the door. So he jumps onto the radiator, grabs the piping here and up here, and then he breaks through this window and throws his body through. These poor people, I guess, are sleeping. So there's some really nice arcs through this to do that. He runs up. And just keeps going. And we, of course, they cut to these guys. The next one, and there aren't as many on this was really crazy. He's running and he sees a rope. Somebody's chasing him. He grabs a rope and he swings out. The other guy misses. So grabbing a rope, that would be something that would be harder. And if you want to do a rope, I would encourage you to probably do that FK, so you can actually grab and keep your hands in one place. Instead of FK, you do that IK. And if you do want to do that, I would have a rope already in his hand that you've turned off and on, that you can turn off and on. You can turn the visibility off and on so that you don't see it while he's running. And then when he grabs it, you turn it on. And then maybe he lets go at the end and he just keeps running instead of, in this example, he like lands on the building and runs around. But you can just have him kind of like Tarzan, grab a rope, swing for a while, let go, and then keep running. So there was another, so those are the two movies that I thought were really good examples of what I'm looking for. Just 3 seconds of animation where you're having the character get in and out of a run cycle. The other one was football. I was looking at these, you know what, this advanced. Yeah, these guys jumping over their defenders. I got a commercial. Yeah. So of course you don't want to have this guy get tackled by other football players, but just that idea that maybe he's running, your character's running, someone maybe tosses him a football and a big, I don't know, big ball or something very simple that he can leap over. He's running. He just hurdles over that guy. And that's the whole thing about this is over and over, we just see these guys getting jumped over. There's a couple of them where they do like flips over them too, I think, in this one, or I don't remember. There's a lot of good examples in football. These guys are really athletic. Let's see what this guy does. Yeah, so just leaping over them, but you can find other ones where they do a complete flip over them. But don't have him get tackled. We need him to get back up because the next person has to pick up where we left off and he's running. So again, you're looking for the key poses. If you're doing something like this, or gymnastics, I was looking at gymnastics too, these little gymnasts that are doing these vaults or floor exercises where they run and then do all these flips in the air. Those are a little bit tougher. I mean, you can slow them down like we are here with the less than greater than keys, but some of the stuff in the, especially Simone Biles, she's crazy. She's doing like, her body is twisting in like all three axes at once. So that might be a little bit too challenging. But the Ong Bak stuff it can be kind of complicated, but a lot of it is pretty straightforward. Even when he jumps over the, where is it? I can't remember which one it was. Yeah, the tires, where he uses the tires and he does that flip. He's only rotating on one axis. That's the nice part about it. Yeah, this one. You can see he's just rotating in the x-axis. He does two flips. So really, if you just get him in the pose, this rotational pose where he's holding his knees, once you get him in that pose, you just keep rotating him, and the rest of his body parts just follow until you get him out of that pose. Right there. So yeah, where are we at? Yeah, so you just for Wednesday, so for tomorrow, for today's Sunday, but for Monday's class, send me your or if you haven't already posted it, post your YouTube link, a YouTube link to the Google Drive, and let me know exactly, give me some frame numbers like 428 to 431 or something, so I know exactly what you're going for. And again, we want the character continually running forward, not to the side. That's why I'm sorry, you can have him go to the side a little bit, but he cannot translate in the z-axis with his root control. This is a cycle, so he has to be in place and he's just moving up and down. Trying to think what else you might need. Just a reminder when you're in Maya, a couple reminders about Maya. So this file, the file that I'm going to send you guys, you already have this character, but I'm going to submit this character, this file called brosales_parkour. And of course, this is my file, and it has 101 and 175. I also, as you guys saw, I recreated the all button with the FK controls. If you prefer the IK, just make it again with the IK like I showed you. Just depending on if you need to grab onto something or plant your hands against a wall or the floor. But make sure to rename this, because if I see this with my name, then it's my file, it's not your file. So make sure your first initial, last name. And then have your create some kind of object. Very, very simple: box, sphere, ball, whatever, cone, cylinder, and have that move either left to right or side to side, or front to back, or left to right, or maybe up and down, whatever you want to come up with. But it's the object that's moving in the z-axis, or in the x-axis, or in the y-axis, and he's just getting around it, over it, or through it. Maybe he busts through it. I don't know. Maybe you have him trip and fall, but whatever you want to do, just make sure that you're using video reference, because that's going to really help. It's going to be a lot easier for you to get to really good animation really quickly if you're just frame by framing, finding your key poses. And then after you find your key poses, you find your breakdown poses. And they're just the transitional poses between your key poses. So that's pretty much it. And of course, you can shoot me an email if you have any questions. So by Friday, well, okay, so for Monday, I want to see your key poses. Well, let's say this. Let me say this. Mondays, I need to see everyone's video reference. And then on Monday during class time, just treat it as if it's normal class time. Work on and finding your key poses from your video reference. And for Wednesday, send me your key poses and start working on your breakdown poses. So by Friday, you should have your keys and your breakdowns figured out pretty well, because you have a really good video reference, and you've been going through and finding them. And then I've just mostly been looking at the camera view, but again, don't forget to also look at it from the front view or perspective view, front view, maybe even the top view sometimes, to make sure things are working for you. If you need to, you can take your camera. Mine's locked, but you can go ahead and adjust it, just unlock it. And if you need to have him go higher because he's getting up really high, jumping over people or whatever. Oops, let me unlock it again. There we go. So then I'll relock it. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And don't forget to email me if you have any questions. We can set up individual Zoom meetings, conferences, if you need particular help. But yeah, I look forward to seeing your work. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here.